caught on camera at Incheon International Airport on Monday morning with a highly unusual appearance. No escort, no public announcement, and no official information from the agency. He walked alone toward the international departure gate, wearing a black Dior coat, oversized sunglasses, and a limited edition platinum Tiffany Co bracelet never seen before. No statement. No agenda listed in the official schedule. Yet the camera captured something beyond a mere private departure. This moment instantly triggered a wave of speculation and chaos in the digital space, less than 2 hours after the photos spread across online forums and social media. Hashtags related to Jimin immediately ranked at the top globally. But the spotlight wasn't solely on where he was going, but rather on what he was wearing. The Tiffany Co bracelet, prominently visible on his left wrist, was identified as part of an unreleased internal collection. Some fashion analysts recognized the design as a limited collaboration between Tiffany Co and a contemporary Japanese artist. Its presence on Jimin's wrist, just before his departure to Japan, could not be seen as a coincidence. Fashion industry experts view the choice of accessory as part of a carefully crafted symbolic narrative. Tiffany Co, an American jewelry brand now under LVMH control, rarely grants access to unreleased products to Asian artists, except in strategic special projects. The fact that Jimin wore it without official announcement indicates the existence of a tightly guarded collaborative plan. Jimin's steps at the airport were more than just physical movement from one country to another. His appearance, visually coordinated, exclusive in branding, and deliberate in gesture, sparked strong suspicion that he was en route to a high-level commercial activity. Public attention no longer focused on concerts or recordings, but on his involvement in a new narrative structure, a symbiosis between celebrity and global fashion. In a brief analysis released by the Asia Mode Research Center, it was conveyed that Jimin is most likely preparing for involvement in a cross-brand project between Tiffany Co and a major Japanese fashion house yet to be named. Sources in the jewelry industry stated that some elements of the Blue Shadow line, the internal codename for upcoming Tiffany products, had been privately showcased to Asian representatives through exclusive meetings in Tokyo. No names were confirmed in those meetings, but someone from BTS was mentioned as present. The visual evidence that later emerged confirmed that the individual was Jimin, the destination, Tokyo. The atmosphere shifted drastically. The main Tiffany Co boutique in the Omotesando district suspended regular operations 2 days prior to Jimin's arrival. The boutique's facade was covered in black curtains, and a small notice board with the phrase, "Exclusivement por Suka Sabana Tendra," only for those who know how to wait, appeared without context. This situation led to the assumption that the new collection launch would be carried out through a limited immersive method, only for pre-filtered access individuals. A subsequent development. Several reports from industry watchers mentioned that Jimin's departure was likely not a solitary action. Sources from Japan's creative content production scene reported activity involving an underground studio in the Roppongi area, rented under the name of the LVMH Asia marketing entity. Several production units were seen bringing cinematic standard equipment into the location without any announcements. On another note, several fashion journalists observed that Jimin's movement cannot be separated from a broader context, the consolidation of K-pop power in the global high fashion market. Previous collaborations between Dior and BTS have shown the group's ability to elevate European brand visibility in Asia. With Jimin now seen wearing Tiffany Co, there is a strong possibility that LVMH's parent company is orchestrating a new approach that integrates music, visual cinema, and luxury marketing into one gradually delivered narrative entity. This phenomenon cannot be seen as merely an individual strategy. In modern marketing structures, every major artist's appearance is part of a brand's communication strategy network. When Jimin appears without official escort and with no open agenda, yet wearing unreleased jewelry, his presence must be read as a performative act aimed at shaping market image and expectations simultaneously. It is important to note that, until now, There's been no confirmation from either Jimin's side or Tiffany and Company. However, the official social media account of Tiffany Co Japan posted an image a few hours after Jimin's arrival in Tokyo. A close-up photo of a wrist wearing the same bracelet, accompanied by the phrase, "Elegance does not arrive. It appears." The image did not mention any name, but the visual similarity to Jimin's airport appearance was too precise to ignore. The absence of confirmation only strengthens its effect. In a rapidly moving digital landscape, uncertainty is a communication weapon. The lack of statements enlarges the speculative space, and in that space, the narrative is organically formed by the public. Large companies understand this, and they take advantage of it. The next question is whether this is the beginning of a global-scale campaign between Tiffany Co and Jimin as a brand ambassador, or part of a more complex project, such as a short film, fashion cinema, or highly artistic audiovisual work. Considering Jimin's tendency toward poetic and conceptual artistic expression, it is not impossible that what is happening is a combination of all of them. Over the next few days, public attention will remain focused on Tokyo. Every movement, every leaked image, every word posted by official or unofficial accounts will be analyzed as part of a larger puzzle. But for now, one thing remains undeniable. Jimin's presence in Japan, wearing never-before-seen Tiffany Co, is not an ordinary event. IT is a symbolic operation, a high-level communication strategy, and part of an industry movement that blurs the lines between art, business, and cultural identity. No explanation. No official statement. Only visuals, impressions, and subtle signs that form meaning. Thus, the public is confronted with a fundamental question. Are we witnessing a luxury jewelry launch, or the unveiling of a new chapter in the global celebrity ecosystem? The answer is not yet available. But the signs are becoming clearer. The rising tension does not stop at the airport visuals or Tiffany Co's mysterious official account post. Within 24 hours of Jimin's departure moment, several fan accounts and unofficial sources began circulating image snippets showing a male figure with similar posture entering a brutalist architecture building in Tokyo's Aoyama district, one of the most secure locations often used by major fashion houses for exclusive shoots. The identification of the same platinum bracelet on the left wrist strengthens the belief that it was Jimin. What drew attention was not just the location or the figure believed to be Jimin, but the logistical escort that followed him. Several closed-box vehicles were seen entering and exiting the same location, bearing small labels, T&Co Production Unit, an indication that Tiffany Co was not merely conducting an editorial shoot, but a large-scale content production. It cannot be confirmed whether this is related to a campaign video, short film, or hybrid cinematic presentation. But the volume of equipment used, along with the involvement of both local and foreign technical crews, indicates an unusually scaled project. Sources from Tokyo's creative production community stated that 2 large studios in Roppongi and Ebisu had been rented under strict confidentiality agreements, with no access for media or third-party vendors. Employees working at the locations were asked to sign international non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, and all internal documentation was managed directly by an external production team dispatched from Paris and New York. These indicators clarify one thing. This activity is not ordinary commercial work, but part of a systematically designed long-term visual communication strategy. At nearly the same time, the movement of 2 other BTS members, Jin and Jungkook, was also recorded in Tokyo without any official schedule. Jin was seen entering the Calvin Klein boutique privately the night before, while Jungkook was reported to attend a private meeting with a renowned Milanese menswear designer. These 3 activities occurred without public statements, but overlapped in space and time. This combination leads to speculation about the formation of a visual BTS alliance across global fashion brands. If this theory holds true, then Jimin with Tiffany Co, Jungkook with Calvin Klein, and Jin as a flexible balancing figure on both sides form visual entities designed to create simultaneous impact in 3 key market segments: accessories, menswear, and luxury lifestyle. In the same way Dior positioned Jimin as the face of its more artistic and emotional collection, Tiffany appears to be solidifying Jimin's position as a masculine elegance icon who does not rely on physical power stereotypes, but on presence and refined imagery. Market reaction to these visual signals was swift. Search volume for Jimin Tiffany bracelet rose 2,300% in a single day, according to online aggregator data. Several global fashion accounts even began compiling an inventory of visual elements from Jimin's airport appearance: coat color, pant cut, shoe type, and especially the bracelet's details. This shows that the visual narrative was not merely passively consumed, but analyzed, interpreted, and internalized by the market as part of brand identity formation and consumer aspiration. Jimin's departure from Incheon to Tokyo, without official escort, without a published agenda, and with an appearance showing high-level visual coordination, is not an ordinary event. It is part of a series of performative actions that have blurred the lines between reality and symbolic construction. The question is no longer whether he is traveling for personal or professional purposes, but whether we are witnessing reality or being led to believe in a narrative prepared with extreme precision. The appearance of a platinum bracelet from an unreleased collection, worn by an individual with global market influence, is not a spontaneous act. It is a visual statement with strategic consequences for public perception, brand value, and cross-continental marketing ecosystems. But was the bracelet merely coincidentally on Jimin's wrist as he walked alone to the departure gate? Or conversely, has every detail of this event been predicted, engineered, and distributed to produce a specific impact? Furthermore, unusual activity in Tokyo, the closure of Tiffany Co's flagship boutique in Omotesando, unmarked logistics vehicles, and closed-off locations in Aoyama and Roppongi secured with high-level secrecy protocols, indicates the involvement of international-scale corporate entities in the construction of this communication. The fact that workers were required to sign international non-disclosure agreements shows that the information reaching the public is merely the surface of a far larger and more closed agenda. Yet, amid the visual sequence and exclusive signals, the most suspicious element is silence. No official statements, no press releases, no announced work agenda. It is precisely in this information vacuum that massive speculation arises. And here a critical warning must be conveyed. Silence is a powerful communication tool when used strategically. Behind the absurdity of the narrative formed by the public, we must ask, who benefits from this confusion? Are we being conditioned to feel like witnesses of an exclusive moment, when in fact we are being manipulated as targets of marketing communication? It is important to note that the initial information sparking waves of opinion came from unofficial accounts, TikTok clips, image, snippets from X, Twitter, and speculation from unverified YouTube channels. This means that the narrative largely developed outside information distribution paths, with verification mechanisms. Therefore, the next question must be asked seriously. Are we reading a factual report or trapped in a fictional scenario wrapped as news? Historically, the fashion and entertainment industries have repeatedly used uncertainty as a market activation tool. A digital society, hungry for exclusivity and interpretation, becomes the ideal medium for spreading unverified narratives. In this context, Jimin's visualization is no longer a personal act. It has become a global communication device transcending the boundaries between image, consumption, and collective identity. The presence of Jin and Jungkook in Tokyo at nearly the same time, also without an official agenda, further strengthens the assumption of involvement by a broader structure. If indeed these three BTS figures are present under a framework of interbrand visual communication, then we are not witnessing product promotion. We are witnessing the formation of a corporate identity coalition through celebrity personification. The question now evolves into something more complex and fundamental. Do celebrities still have individual agency, or have they become entities owned by an economic system managing the global collective narrative? Can art, self-expression, And authenticity still exists amid brand communication strategies wrapped in silence and false exclusivity, in a world where visuals are more trusted than words, and silence more effective than official statements. We must not overlook one thing: that everything visible may have been constructed, designed, and manipulated. Therefore, as readers, consumers, and digital citizens, we must not remain passive. Here are several questions we must ask, not only of this narrative, but of every similar narrative that appears in digital space. Are we being given information or being led to believe something? Why is there no official clarification despite worldwide public attention? Who holds the power over information? And who is harmed by this collective ignorance? What is the real objective behind this uncertainty? We state that all data, observations, and hypotheses in this article are sourced from open information networks, mostly originating from social media, without investigative journalism standards. Not a single element has been confirmed directly by official parties, whether from Jimin's management, Tiffany Co, or the Japanese fashion entities allegedly involved. Therefore, we assert, skepticism is the only protection left in a communication landscape governed by impressions, not verification. Being critical of all information, questioning every narrative, and refusing to be caught in euphoria are the most important forms of intellectual resistance today. This event, regardless of whether it is real or not, has shown that the boundaries between reality, representation, and manipulation have become blurred. And it is precisely at this blurred point that public opinion is formed, markets are moved, and culture is directed. We must ask firmly, is this a smart communication innovation or a new form of collective deception? Are we mere spectators or tools used by the system to reinforce the illusion of exclusivity and narrative control? Time will tell. But in the meantime, one thing remains certain. Strategic silence is deadlier than blatant propaganda. Think. Question everything. Don't believe just because something looks real. If the initial stage of this phenomenon was a visual spark, Jimin's appearance at the airport with full symbolic attributes, then the next phase enters a far deeper realm, the structure of simulacra or hyperreality, where the distinction between fact and fiction is deliberately erased. Jean Baudrillard calls this hyperreality, a condition in which representation becomes stronger and more believable than reality itself. The presence of the exclusive Tiffany Co bracelet, closed brutalist buildings in Aoyama, logistics vehicles labeled faintly Co production unit, and the total absence of official statements from any party are all elements of a communication theater. These elements, both visual and narrative, do not reveal the truth, but present a version of truth manipulated to create specific reactions. The key point is, this narrative does not aim to explain, but to frame. Every speculation arising on social media, from TikTok to Twitter, is never addressed directly, but becomes part of a strategic feedback loop. Every ambiguity is not a communication failure, but a form of communication in itself. Thus, the public must ask, are we witnessing a hidden reality, or being presented with such a convincing illusion that we stop questioning its truth? When 3 BTS figures appear simultaneously in Tokyo with unverifiable agendas, suspicions arise that this is part of a grand orchestration. If it is true that Tiffany Co, Calvin Klein, and other European fashion entities are constructing a collective narrative through these individuals, then we are in the middle of a cross-border marketing operation with a cinematic structure. And here, the public must raise their final defense. Critical awareness. Admiring appearance or analyzing symbols is not enough. We must once again ask, who is composing this narrative? Who is distributing it? What is the motive? And how far have we been unknowingly drawn into the strategy? A visual marketing observer from Keio University stated that the greatest power in communication today lies not in the product, but in the visual moment perceived as an exclusive leak. This is why information opacity is more effective than open promotion. A blurry, distant photo of Jimin is far more virally valuable than an official press release. In this logic, vagueness is not a weakness, but a method. However, this method also opens dangerous avenues for manipulation. In collective ignorance, the public begins to construct their own narrative. Without a clarification mechanism, the boundary between fact and fiction becomes irrelevant. As a result, unverified information transforms into operational truth in digital space, a form of truth defined by perception, not fact. Therefore, in this context, the following questions must be seriously considered by every reader. Are we witnessing an artistic launch? Or is this a manipulation of public perception wrapped in luxury aesthetics? Who is truly the director of this entire series of events? Are they really the celebrities or the corporate powers behind the scenes? And more importantly, what are the social, cultural, and psychological consequences of this ambiguity for a public continuously bombarded by glamorous yet unexplained narratives? We must not normalize that all this is considered normal simply because it comes from the entertainment or fashion world. When three key figures from the world's biggest group appear mysteriously in the same city within a very tight time frame involving billion-dollar global entities, the public has the right not only to watch, but to interrogate. Therefore, we invite readers not to be trapped by visual euphoria or seduced by the sparkle of false exclusivity. Do not let beauty be the reason to abandon logic. Every second of the circulating narrative must be responded to with sharp questions, measured skepticism, and intellectual firmness. We are not witnessing an ordinary event. We are inside a labyrinth of representation, where truth is no longer found, but formed. And if we are not vigilant,